Hi, I'm Mia. I'm a typical 15-year-old high school sophomore with one exception. I have an insatiable love for solving problems, from math equations to life's intricate puzzles. This curiosity drives me, making me the girl who's always asking why and how about everything around me. The world is full of fascinating questions. My curiosity isn't just a personality trait, it's also my compass, guiding my choices and passions. I've immersed myself in our school's science club and the math Olympiad, spending countless hours designing experiments and solving complex equations. Each challenge, each problem is a new adventure, and I love the thrill of cracking the code, finding the solution. But life isn't just about equations and experiments. I've learned this in the hardest way possible. When I was only 10, my mom passed away. It was like the ground beneath me vanished. It was just my dad and me left, two broken hearts trying to navigate through the pain and loss. I recall one evening, we were sitting on the porch looking at the stars, and he said to me, "Mia, life is like architecture. Sometimes you plan everything out, but it still collapses. But remember, we can always rebuild." My dad, Jack, is an architect. His mind is a beautiful blend of creativity and logic, a balance I've always admired and strived to emulate. Through the toughest times, he was my rock, my safe haven. Together, we learned to live with our loss, cherishing the memories of my mom while bracing ourselves to face the future. High school brought many changes, including the arrival of Miss Clara, my math teacher. She was a breath of fresh air, bringing a spark of brilliance and a heart full of care into the classroom. Her method of teaching wasn't just about solving equations. It was about understanding the beauty hidden in those numbers and symbols. Little did I know then how profoundly she would impact our lives. Time flew quickly, and before I knew it, parent-teacher conferences rolled around. That's when Miss Clara and my dad, Jack, first met. I remember the day quite vividly. It was a warm, sunny afternoon. The school was buzzing with parents talking to teachers about their kids' progress. Miss Clara was seated at her desk, a neatly arranged pile of progress reports to her right, and a mug of coffee to her left. She always had this radiant smile that was both inviting and comforting, a trait that often put anxious parents at ease. On the other hand, my dad was visibly nervous. He had always been more of a behind-the-scenes kind of person, preferring to let his architectural blueprints do the talking rather than engaging in conversations. But today was different. Today he was a parent, concerned and involved. As he walked into the room, I could see his eyes searching for a familiar face. When he finally spotted me, I pointed him towards Miss Clara. I remember his gaze shifting from me to her, a gentle smile spreading across his face as he walked towards her. Their conversation started professionally, with Miss Clara sharing my progress in class. My dad listened attentively, his eyes never leaving hers. He asked detailed questions about my performance and how he could support me better at home. Miss Clara appreciated his genuine concern and dedication, but as they delved deeper into the conversation, I noticed a subtle shift. They started discussing shared interests, architecture, and its mathematical aspects. My dad's eyes lit up as he talked about his latest project, while Miss Clara listened, fascinated. I remember thinking how well they seemed to hit it off. It was like watching two pieces of a puzzle fitting together. But little did I know then that this was the start of something that would change our lives forever. When I first met Miss Clara, she was just my math teacher, an inspiring woman with a captivating way of teaching. Her deep understanding of the subject and her passion for imparting that knowledge resonated with me, and I instantly admired her. As I got to know her better, I realized she wasn't just an exceptional teacher, but a remarkable woman too. She had a unique blend of intelligence, compassion, and patience. She was kind to everyone, always encouraging her students to reach their full potential. And beyond that, she had this ability to make math feel like an art, a beautiful dance of numbers and equations. I noticed something unusual about Miss Clara and my dad, though. There were subtle signs at first, which I mostly dismissed as friendly encounters. Miss Clara would drop by the house after school under the pretext of discussing my progress. She and my dad would end up chatting about everything from architecture to their shared love for classical music. There was a spark between them, a sort of electricity that was hard to ignore. I remember once when Miss Clara came over to return a book she had borrowed from my dad. I saw them by the doorway engrossed in a deep conversation about the book's architectural theories. They were so lost in their discussion, their enthusiasm palpable. It was a scene I had witnessed between them several times, but this time it felt different. Another day, I spotted them at the local cafe on my way home from school. They were sitting at a corner table, their heads bent close together, discussing a blueprint my dad had been struggling with. Miss Clara's face was lit up with excitement as she pointed out something to him. And I noticed the way my dad looked at her, with appreciation and something more. And then, there were the conversations at dinner, where Miss Clara seemed to know my dad's preferences almost too well. She would casually mention his favorite dish, or subtly refer to an architectural design he admired. My dad, in turn, seemed to pay extra attention to Miss Clara's stories and experiences. The dynamic between them had shifted, and I couldn't help but notice. In the beginning, I brushed it off as a developing friendship. After all, they were both intellectuals and shared common interests. But as these instances grew more frequent and the chemistry between them more evident, I couldn't shake off the feeling that there was something more going on. One day, I gathered my courage and decided to confront Miss Clara about it. Her face flushed as she confessed to having feelings for my dad. And when I asked my dad about it, he couldn't hide his smile. He admitted to feeling the same way, his eyes twinkling with a happiness I hadn't seen in a long time. It was a surprising revelation, but it explained all the unusual encounters that had aroused my suspicion. Once their feelings were out in the open, I had to face the reality that my dad and Miss Clara were in a relationship. It felt strange, to say the least, but seeing them happy gave me a sense of comfort. One day, I sat them both down and gave them my blessing. I remember my words echoing in the quiet room. If you two are happy, that's all that matters to me. There were smiles and relief in their eyes. Life went on, and soon they were a regular couple, going out on dates, having lengthy phone conversations, and spending time together. However, as their relationship progressed, it started attracting attention. Word got out, and it wasn't long before the entire school knew about it. The whispers started quietly, hushed conversations in corridors, and giggles in classrooms. I was suddenly the girl whose dad was dating her teacher. I was in the limelight, but for all the wrong reasons. My private life was now a topic of public discussion, and I felt my world spinning out of control. My grades started to slip as the rumors continued to swirl. I found it hard to concentrate in class. The safe and nurturing environment of school suddenly felt hostile and intrusive. My friends started treating me differently, and it felt like I was walking on eggshells every day. One evening, I came home feeling particularly low. The day at school had been hard, with a round of nasty rumors making the rounds. As I sat down for dinner, I looked at Miss Clara and my dad, both engrossed in conversation, seemingly unaware of my struggle. Something inside me snapped, and I blurted out everything. I told them about the rumors, about how my grades were suffering, about how uncomfortable I felt at school. I remember the shock in their eyes as they listened to me, their smiles fading. "We need to handle this better," I told them, my voice shaking with emotion. They listened to me attentively, their faces reflecting understanding and concern. They realized that while they had found happiness in each other, it was causing an unforeseen effect on me, and they reassured me that we would figure it out together. This heart-to-heart conversation made me realize the complexity of the situation, but also the importance of open communication in overcoming challenges. Miss Clara's presence in our home brought about a wave of warmth and nurturing that we had missed since my mom passed away. She seemed to have an intuitive understanding of when to step in and when to give us our space, a balance that I came to appreciate deeply. One vivid instance I recall was when I was preparing for the regional math Olympiad. The pressure was mounting and my stress levels were off the charts. Late one night, while I was wrestling with a particularly challenging problem, Miss Clara walked into my room. She sat down next to me, her calm demeanor in stark contrast to my frazzled state. "I used to struggle with problems like this too, Mia," she said gently, pointing at the equation in front of me. "But then I realized that sometimes it's okay to take a break. Clear your mind. The solution often appears when you least expect it." Another time, I remember waking up to the delightful aroma of pancakes my mom's special recipe. Miss Clara was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes and humming a cheerful tune. The sight warmed my heart. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to me. She was bringing back a tradition we'd let go of after my mom's departure, filling our mornings with joy and delicious food. Then there were times when I'd catch her and my dad, deep in conversation over architectural blueprints. Miss Clara, ever the brilliant mathematician, often helped my dad with the mathematical aspects of his designs. I could see the appreciation in my dad's eyes for her input and support. And when it came to the parent-teacher conference, Miss Clara played the dual role of my teacher and my father's partner with grace. She was open and honest about my academic performance, and together, they discussed how best to support me in my studies. In all these ways and more, Miss Clara nurtured our home with her love, care, and understanding. She breathed life into our routines and helped heal some of the wounds left by my mom's absence. Accepting her was one of the best decisions we've made as a family. The day Miss Clara moved in with us marked the start of a new chapter in our lives. Even though I was happy for my dad and grateful for Miss Clara's constant support, a deep, gnawing guilt began to settle in my heart. It was a feeling I struggled to understand and even more to admit. There were moments when Miss Clara would do something, a small gesture, a habit, a saying, that would remind me so much of my mom. Like how she used to tuck me in at night or the way she'd hum my mom's favorite song while cooking. Each of these instances stirred a turmoil of emotions within me. I remember one particular evening, I was rummaging through an old photo album. Each picture of my mom felt like a punch to my gut, a stark reminder of the void that her death had left. And right there, amidst those bittersweet memories, guilt washed over me like a tidal wave. How could I let another woman fill the role of my mom? I remember sitting on my bed, the photo album open in my lap, tears streaming down my face. I felt like I was betraying my mom, erasing her memory, replacing her. It felt wrong to accept Miss Clara, to love her and see her in my mom's place. In those moments of guilt and confusion, I'd retreat into my shell, wrapping myself in memories of my mom. I kept questioning myself. Am I disloyal to my mom's memory? Am I wrong for wanting to move on? These questions haunted me, casting a long shadow over the happiness that was slowly finding its way back into our lives. But gradually, I realized that guilt was just another step in my journey of grief and acceptance. It was not about forgetting my mom or replacing her. It was about allowing myself to heal, to move forward. Accepting Miss Clara didn't diminish my love for my mom. It simply meant I was making room for more love in my heart. And so this chapter of my life taught me a number of valuable lessons that shaped me into a stronger and wiser person. Firstly, I learned about acceptance. Acceptance of change, acceptance of others, and even acceptance of our own feelings. Life is a roller coaster of change, and learning to navigate it is a part of growing up. Secondly, I learned that love is not a limited resource. Loving someone new doesn't mean you're forgetting the ones you've lost. Love can grow and expand, filling your heart in ways you never expected. Lastly, this journey taught me the importance of open and honest communication. It can be challenging to express your feelings and concerns, especially when you're afraid of causing discomfort. But honest communication is key to understanding and resolving conflicts. This story, the tale of how my teacher fell in love with my dad, was a mix of different emotions. But in the end, we came out stronger and became one happy, blended family. Thanks for watching my story. Always remember, love can bloom in the most unexpected places. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. See you next time!